Welcome back to that Balltalk. It's your host Dietrich, back at you with another one. Today we're going to be talking about the incoming quarterback draft class. We're going to give our top fives. We're going to give, our weaknesses, their strengths, our opinions on them, where they probably going to be drafted at, and where we have them ranked in our quarterback rankings, and where we think they're going to be at as a prospect in their range. Today I got with me the co-host Keith, and we got a new guest on here today, Mr. Emeka. And I'm gonna go ahead and start it off. The first quarterback that everybody should have on their top five should be no question, Mr. Heisman himself, Mr. Patrick Mahomes, aka Junior himself, Caleb Williams, fresh out of Washington D.C., Gonzaga High School. Um, I think he's the best quarterback in my opinion in this draft class. It should be no question. He could pretty much do everything you really need him to do on the field as a quarterback. Some people say sometimes he's a little bit dependent on broken plays too much, but I wouldn't agree with that. I think he's a very good quarterback. He could play on schedule if you need him to, but I think he makes so many plays in college to where people think he's just a playmaker 100%. I think he could really sit down and be a great quarterback in the NFL. A couple weaknesses I think he has. It's not really weaknesses, but they're just things he could work on to make his quarterback game better. From when I was watching a couple of his games, most of his film breakdowns and stuff like that, I think he tends to stare down his wide receivers a lot throughout his reads. Sometimes he can play just too much of superhero ball and force a play if it's not there. Sometimes I think he just needs to, just dish it in the dirt, throw it out of bounds, live to see another down if he can't make a play with his legs. Also, he breaks the pocket a little bit too soon, in my opinion, but I don't think that's 100% on him. That USC O line wasn't as good as an NFL O line could be. So I think that wasn't just him not letting the play develop. I think it was just him making the best of his opportunities. And this isn't a weakness. I just think it's just another thing that he should probably work on more, which is sometimes just take the check downs, take what the defense is giving you, take those 3 to 5 yards, live for the next down to where you can make a bigger play. But as far as strengths, like I said, the sky's probably the limit. He's a pure playmaker. He's a great arm talent. One thing that I think is unseen when a lot of people watch him is his fundamentals, in my opinion, is great. He has a great base whenever he's throwing. He's good in his dropbacks. He does the small things good to make the great things look great. And he's always willing to make a play, and he's real sneaky athletic that a lot of people probably won't pay attention to because he makes a lot of throws with his arm and off the chart type of plays whenever he can. But yeah, he's the best prospect in this class, in my opinion. I have him right over Marvin Harrison. It's a little bit close, in my opinion. But yeah, I for sure think he's going pick one. There should be no question he's going pick one, and he's the best prospect, in my opinion. And Keith, what you guys say? Who's your first quarterback off the charts?
Same guy, Caleb. I think Caleb, he does everything you want a quarterback to do amazing. And you go back and watch his Heisman year film, like damn near every game he had was perfect. He was hitting every throw was layered, perfect velocity that it needed on that throw. He was extending plays and even doing it with his legs. And he looked like a great runner last year, not more so this year. This year he did a little bit more protecting himself and sitting in the pocket, running around. But I think the one thing that worries me with him, everybody talks about all the good throws, and rightfully so because he's deserved it. But the one thing that kind of worries me is he just hasn't battled adversity and gotten through it on the other side. Like you look at all the other QBs, because one thing for all rookie QBs, no matter how good you are, you're in adversity is inevitable. And that Notre Dame game, I guess you can say, was his first battle at adversity. And I didn't really see him come back from that Notre Dame game. So that's the only thing that worries me when it comes to Caleb. He on the field, everything else, he loves football. He's a competitor. I hate when people try to knock that on him. Who cares if he paints his nails? Like he's a dog at the end of the day. But I just, especially going in Chicago, that's a place where no quarterback has been able to succeed. And as good as we think he is, he's going to probably run into some hiccups along the way, and he's got to be able to combat that by whether they start out 1-4 or 1-5, and he's got to make sure or help people don't make sure they don't fall off track. So that's really the only thing you can knock on him. Everything else is damn near perfect, and that's why he's everybody's 1-on-1.
So first off, as a Bears fan, Caleb Williams, he that dog. He that guy. And just looking at his game and his film, he do everything right. He make the big plays. He's that new age quarterback everybody looking for. That big superstar, there's no question. He's gonna come in. You want him to do everything. You want him to do everything that we know he can do. He can make the throws. He can run. It's just with me, I just got to make sure like all that off platform moving out the pocket and taking like 5 6 seconds to throw. It's not happening in Windy City. Like O line cool, but O line there's O line. Like we need him to make the first, second read right then and there. We need that quick intermediate throws. We need to make sure he's not always going for the big 60, 70 yard play, that he's not always just looking downfield, like take the check downs. Like just the simple things. We want him to perfect the simple things and just do the little things that, he do it right. And the thing what you said adversity, like, him
I
never
definitely
winning like
agree.
the
So we
big
all in the lines that Caleb Williams is 100% should be pick one, no question. Hopefully, the Bears don't do anything else
uh,
that they shouldn't do.
so yeah, and then with that
You don't.
adversity thing, he just he never really faced adversity. He never really like stepped up to it. He never been to the college football playoffs, and they call him the greatest, QB prospect
No.
since whoever, since Luck, since what has he done in college? The stats are cool. Everybody got the stats. So like, what has he done? How has he elevated his teammates? Have he made his other players better? So those are the questions. The leadership question. That's what I had for him. And I think this is a good. It's the best situation number one overall pick can go to with Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Cole Kmet, a couple linemen. Defense was looking good towards the end of the year. New OC that's gonna coach him right. So he has a big role, that big shoes to step in. We're expecting playoffs. We're expecting 10 wins this season. We on year 3 of the rebuild. And I know he's a rookie quarterback, but his talent, his blue chip, better than Trevor Lawrence, we're expecting big things.
So you expected him to be better? Well, Trevor Lawrence didn't really have a good rookie year at all, though. Yeah,
He had an
probably.
awful rookie year
He
because
not
Yeah,
of
he
that
had,
his expectation. He was in a bad, but he had Urban Meyer. Like we got to be
yeah,
serious.
he
He
had
was in a
yeah,
bad
yeah, yeah.
situation
He
with
wasn't
a
a bad
coach.
jump. So
But
so you
as he was rated up there, and Caleb was rated higher. So we should be expecting like more than any first overall pick since whenever,
I got you. So basically,
especially with the team.
so you as a Bears fan right now, you're expecting basically playoffs or bust.
Yes,
Okay, I
hundred
agree.
percent.
I agree. I agree. You right now, y'all should 100%. If y'all get Caleb, you got DeAndre Swift on the running back. You still got your running back from last year. You bring
Two
in Keenan
1,000 yard
Allen.
receivers.
Yeah, 2,000-yard receivers. You got Cole Kmet. You got a better O line from what you had last year. And I still have the ninth overall pick. I definitely think if Caleb comes in and still plays, that like just off of his pure talent alone, I definitely think y'all should still be. I think y'all could probably get into the playoffs for sure. It's not going to be an easy task with the NFC. I believe it's because you still got the Niners, you still got the Lions. I think the Packers will go
Especially with the
back.
North, the Packers, and the Lions. So just winning the North is going to be hard alone. But
Yeah, I probably don't.
again, he's probably the most talented quarterback that's going to be in the North, talent wise.
talent wise, yes, D. Yes.
Talent wise, yes.
Talent wise, yes.
It's hard to judge that because of what Jordan Love just did towards the end of the season. It's
Oh
hard
no,
to
no,
judge
no,
that.
no. I understand what he did, but as a playmaker, Caleb is
Yes, as a
above what
talent,
Jordan
as a
Love could
prospect,
ever
he's better
achieve.
than Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, I'm not. I won't disagree on it. I won't disagree on it. Let me say that I won't disagree on it. I'm not in the right space to probably give that analysis right now. So I won't disagree on it, but I'm not agreeing with it. Definitely, I'm not agreeing with it for sure. After what I seen Jordan Love, he did some crazy things last year. I'm not agreeing with it. But we going to the second quarterback. My second quarterback, I got Jaden Daniels. I know all the Drake May talk, blah blah. From what I've seen on film, from what I see, I'm saying breakdowns, my analysis from watching each and most of their games. Honestly, yes, Jaden Williams was. I mean, Jaden Daniels was in a better team, a better system, a better structured system than Drake May with better weapons, in my opinion. So I'm not taking that. I'm not taking away from Drake May. I think he still can be actually the number 2 pick overall. I think he's definitely a great quarterback for sure. But I just like Jaden Daniels second because those mistakes is rare. It's not a lot of mistakes from Jaden Daniels, in my opinion. Like there's not a lot of weaknesses he has. There's not a lot of things he does bad, in my opinion. But with Jaden Daniels is he doesn't have that. that great arm talent that as a Drake May, as a Caleb Williams that you might want out of him. The only weaknesses I really see him having is like I said, he doesn't have a crazy he doesn't have a crazy arm talent as a Caleb May or Drake May. I mean, a Caleb Williams or Drake May. He does tend to have miss some throws on concentration throws, like a simple quick out route, a quick slant down the middle. Just the ones where it's like he stares him down and he has to make that pass. He could miss a couple of them, a couple post corner routes. Um, he could use better footwork also in the pocket, but I think that just comes with reps and just keying in on it and locking down on that alone. I don't think it's going to be that hard for him. He does have good pocket movement, good pocket presence. I just think his feet could be a little bit more active and get into his base and stuff like that. But I really like Jaden Daniels because his athletic ability and he can also make a lot of throws. He throws with great anticipation, but I think when he does get real locked in on doing one thing, he keeps that the main thing and forgets about other things. So like I say, if he breaks off for a quick 45 yarder, I think he thinks like, oh, I'm about to run it again instead of giving what the defense gives him as far as a pass or a quick run. But he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He manages the game with his feet and his arm and does it at a great level, in my opinion. He's very calm in the pocket. He handles pressure very well, in my opinion, and he knows when to get out of there. Um, a very elite athlete. He does what he needs to do as far as athlete wise. He's quick, elusive, but he does take big hits sometimes that might scare me when he gets to the NFL. I think he needs to calm down with that, and he takes what the defense gives him every down. He lives with it, and he could throw almost every pass out there. He could throw the whole route tree if you need him to. His problem is he's just not that crazy arm talent, like I keep saying. But I don't really think that's a knock on him. I think that's just him playing within his game because, like I said, he keeps his mistakes minimum. He doesn't make a lot of them because he doesn't need to because he's not out there trying to make crazy plays. But I think I just don't want people to put an image on him saying that, he played with a Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas, so his job was easier than those few. That's why he looks like that. I don't think that's the case with this quarterback and Jaden Daniels. Now, his age does worry me a little bit as with another quarterback at the back end of my list. But I think it doesn't worry me a lot with him because I think his injury history is less bearing than the other quarterback. But that's who I have at number 2 in Jaden Daniels though.
My number two is actually the same as yours. I think, the age thing really doesn't worry me. I think it's more so, especially when watching him, you can see his age being a positive almost because you look at Caleb's of the younger echelon, and then you got Jaden who's 23, and him being a fifth year senior, he knows when to take the check down or the flat if it's there, and he knows those drive extenders. Those are the difference between it being 2nd and 6 and 2nd and 10, and the play calling on that allows you to be different. But I think with Jaden, he won Heisman deservingly because every play when I watched him, especially the two games that stood out to me most was the Bama game and the Florida game. Almost every play he has is a Heisman worthy play, and I think the thing with him, his arm is you don't expect a quarterback who's as mobile as him to have as good as an arm as he does. Like I wrote down that I can't tell which ball that he throws that I like more between his slot fade and his hitch ball. Both of them he throws almost perfect each time. And you can, whenever you watch Brian Thomas or Malik Neighbors, you will see them running slot fades majority of the time. But that's just because it's always dropped in the bucket. He does a phenomenal job at throwing the ball deep. He doesn't have the arm, like you said, like the Drake May, Caleb Williams, where he can just uncork it 60, 70 yards downfield, off platform, off base, whatever. But I think his arm is good enough to get it 40, 50 yards downfield if he's got his base, if he's got time in the pocket. And he can really throw to all angles of the field, outside, inside the hash, outside, inside the numbers. I think the most impressive thing for me with him is his 0 to 60. His 0 to 60 is like, and I wrote this down that he at all times might be one of the fastest players on the field, especially if you let him pick up some speed. Then it really gets dangerous. Whenever the defensive front loses integrity on with wherever they've got to cover, it's game over because he will notice it. And he's a phenomenal ball carrier. He knows how to set up linebackers and make them take an angle that he knows he can bounce outside of. He knows if he can get it moved and he can outrun a safety. watching him really, and core people. I've seen a lot on Twitter that people have Drake May above him, and I can understand it. But the thing that worried me about Drake was just more so the lack of games that he played compared to Jaden, and also, with Jaden, in the NFL, more often than not, you're going to face some third and 15s, first and 15, third and 20, first and 20. And I think with Jaden, that take it off the top ability, all those plays feel like first and 10. He can, whether it's picking it up in the air or picking it up on the ground, he just is an extension of the run game while also being a good enough passer. Almost feels like a disrespect to him because he's a phenomenal passer. I think the one thing that he does struggle with as a passer is throwing balls across the middle with anticipation. He really can't get them there, and they're more often than not behind the guy or not. They're still on his chest, but they don't really allow the receiver to get the yak that I've seen him play certain balls that they get the yak needed. But I think he's probably going to get drafted in the second pick to Washington, and rightfully so. Like he wasn't, and nobody thought he was going to be here at this time last year. Nobody thought that. It was Drake May and it was Caleb, and for him to have the Heisman year, in the SEC, he went to ASU. I go to ASU now. I got to watch him freshman year, and he wasn't the player freshman year that he is now. And the progression that he's made, and the steps that he's made to become much a better passer. He was a good runner freshman year. He could do all this freshman year, but he just couldn't throw the ball. So it was like, all right, every play Jaden's just running. But now he's been able to throw the ball, and in the NFL, will all those slot fades and all that work? I don't know, but his run ability will allow his arm to be more of a secondary, and also allow him to extend plays like no other. I got his pro comp being rookie RG3 because I think they play very similar. If RG3 didn't get hurt, I think they would have had very similar careers.
My pro comp is that what's that guy down Baltimore with the twist? I can't remember his
Tyler
name.
Huntley.
Nah, the other one, the taller one. He like 6'2", 6'1". Um, dang, he won MVP in like 2019. I can't remember though. But
For the Ravens?
yeah, for the Ravens. Yeah, he down at MetLife. But you
He's
go ahead
not.
though, Mecca. You
He's
go ahead
not.
though, Mecca.
So yeah, my second overall pick is also Lamar Jackson. I mean, Jaden Daniels.
Jay, that
Jaden Daniels, yeah,
that was
yeah,
it.
yeah. Jaden Daniels, he really do got that dog on him. Like, and I do understand, like, people with the age, but for me, certain quarterbacks that with age, I feel like it comes with more, like they come with mentally tough. They've been through like a quarterback being in college for 5 years, been through that adversity and different things, playing in the SEC, playing at ASU, like he really just been through like a lot mentally, and he really can do everything. He can run, like when he get in the league, he's gonna be a top 5 runner. He can throw, like he can make all the passes. He can do everything. But for me, it's really more so his frame, like his pocket work and frame. I don't think his pocket work is really right where you need it to be to throw it behind a Redskins offensive line. I mean, Commanders offensive line. Throwing him behind a Commanders offensive line with his frame, like we've seen running quarterbacks get hurt all the time. Watching Justin Fields, he's 6'3", 225, and I see him get hit a bunch of times. I seen him get hurt behind a bad O line. Lamar Jackson is really just the obsession. That's because he had a better O line than much. RG3, like you said, also really got hurt behind a terrible offensive line. The boy Anthony Richardson's 6'5", 230. He got hurt. They're doing all that running. So the thing, I could see them going either way with Drake or Jaden Daniels because his size and frame, it really is scary. Like a 6'3", and he has a very small frame, like smaller than Lamar Jackson. So he will be one of the smallest quarterbacks in the league other than Bryce Young, which was also why he wasn't my first overall last year. And it was CJ Stroud. It's because of that frame and that size. He can make all the throws. He make precision throws. He make the good throws. I think he's mentally tough. I think he will understand and get a playbook. And I also think he's simply like a leader. Being a leader in that LSU locker room, they faced a lot from last year and this year, just with the new coach, losing a couple games, losing a couple big games. And, he was still mentally tough. He was still dropping all the stats. He was doing the leading rusher, the best passer in the stadium. So it really is like what you're looking for. And I think he has a certain dog that Drake May doesn't have, or not that, just more dog. And I feel like with him with that dog, he could just continue to grow, he'll continue to learn, and he'll continue to move the franchise forward.
Yeah, so we all agree with it. Definitely a set quarterback. I mean, it could easily a toss up. It really all depends who you prefer with Drake May. I do think Drake May probably has a higher ceiling to fall in love with as far as how the quarterback range. I mean, as far as how the quarterback game is going now, with how Josh Allen is playing, Patrick Mahomes is playing, and how them guys play. So I think Drake May ceiling probably could be higher than Jaden, but I definitely think Jaden is more safer in my opinion. Like I said, I fell in love with how he just doesn't make a lot of mistakes and he just takes what the defense gives him, in my opinion. But with further ado, of course, the third quarterback, in my opinion, should be no question, or he could be second very well. Some people list who is Mr. Drake May out of UNC. I still have him between pick 2 and 4. I still have him as a top 5, 10-ish prospect. He should definitely be like a top 5 prospect, in my opinion. There's not many people you could throw ahead of him with his age and his talent, his skill set. Just like Caleb, I believe he can make almost every throw in the book. It's just consistency with that throws and the accuracy at times. Sometimes he whiffs a couple of them, but 2 plays later he can bomb it downfield right on dime and right in the bucket. He has a cannon for an arm. Could definitely make plays if you give him a chance to. Great athleticism. He has a great touch, but he also has a great bullet pass. Also, his feet in the pocket is phenomenal. But I also think that sometimes he could tend to get too tappy with his feet, and it messes with his base from time to time. But he's also a great improviser, just like Caleb. But the things that messes him up at times, in my opinion, is the concentration throws. He's just inaccurate sometimes. Um, his throwing decisions and his throwing angles kind of confuses me a little bit because when he's throwing an out route, I've seen this on a good amount of occasions while I was watching him. Sometimes on his out routes, he doesn't know like which angle to turn his body and how to plant his feet the right way. And he also forces a lot of plays, which I think is going to hurt him a lot in the NFL if he keeps that tendency up, because you can't always force plays against defenses when they throw a lot of disguises at you and stuff like that. Like, you may think you're looking at all out blitz when the whole time it was a disguise cover 3 or a disguise cover 2 or a disguise cover 1, and you may force a certain play and throw a pick, or it might just be a flat out bad ball. Um, and he doesn't have deceptive eyes. I think when I was watching a lot of him, if he turns his head to the right, he doesn't turn his head back to the backside and see if a backside player was open. Most of the time, while I was watching him through a couple of the games, it just looked locked in on that one side of the field and hoping one of those guys was going to get open. If they wasn't open, then he runs around and try to force a play. Where I think he just needs to slow down a little bit more, take his time, and let the game, you know what I'm saying, develop and come to him and let him make the right pass, the right throw that way instead of forcing things. But I also, again, just like Caleb, I think that was because of the lack of offensive line talent they had at USC and the lack of also weapons also sometimes. I think outside of Josh Downs, I can't really remember a studded wide receiver within this past year or two. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I can't really remember anything
Got
pretty much.
one, it's Walker. That's it.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I haven't watched a lot of him, so I wouldn't know about him. But that's only 2. And I think, were they there the same year, or was it just last year than this year?
No, it was last year and this year. Josh
Right. So
Downs the
yeah,
year before and this one.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, he's had probably one guy, but in my opinion, yeah, it was just I don't know. But again, could be 2 in some people's book, could be 3. He has all the talent in the world, could make every play if you need to. He just sometimes just make sure he doesn't get locked in on playing that hero ball and thinking that the whole world is on his back when he has help around the field, in my opinion. But he's definitely a great quarterback, great upside. The sky's the limit for him. The sky's the limit definitely for Drake May. No question. He just needs the right help, right coaching, and I think he can probably do almost everything.
I got Drake and 3. We spoiled that last time, but I also think, it's funny that you said the game getting sped up for him because that's really, I think, one of the more important things that you can see from watching him is if the defense can speed the game up for Drake May, then that makes him a little bit uncomfortable. And then that's when you start seeing the lazy throws with the lazy base and footwork. And then that's when you start seeing the errant passes, the dumb mistakes. That's really when you see it. But I think he does a masterful job, controlling the pocket to however he wants. You watch any Drake May play, he's subtly, drifting left or drifting right to, give the receiver one extra second. I do think he does, need to work on giving or taking what the defense gives them and stop, like you said, locking on to that one route, hoping it gets open. But at the end of the day, Drake does a phenomenal job at deep balls, layering throws, the whole nine. He's a multiple arm angle thrower, which I think in the NFL it separates the guys from the good and the great. You look at A Rod, you look at Lamar, Pat, Josh Allen. They the majority of the time throw it from one arm angle, but the crazy highlight plays that you see are when they're throwing a sidearm or when they're throwing it from a ridiculous arm angle. And Drake May has that, and I think that in his game is really what can separate him from Jaden. Is it because Jaden doesn't have the multiple arm angle throws, or he has it, and I think he throws out of anybody in this class are probably the best seam ball because every time it's the perfect velocity, it's where the guy needs it to. Every time he threw a seam ball, it was either it was on the receiver on him not catching it, or it was a touchdown. No, it wasn't no bad throws, no missed throws. Every time it was a perfect ball, and I think he has too many plays where I look at it and I go, "Come on, Drake," or you shouldn't be doing that. And I think him sitting a year, whether he goes to Washington or New England, I think he would be best suited if they signed a vet or let Mariota play, or if he went to New England, that you let Brissett play. Like I think he'd be best suited if he could just get adjusted and adapted to what an NFL playbook, life becoming not college and football, but just strictly football, and him understanding multiple defenses that are being thrown at him. Like you said, those disguise plays will catch up to him if he's just thrown right in there. And then I think, and people could say I was completely off about him. I think Zach Wilson was a good quarterback in college and then was thrown into a situation where he had to start. It was a dumpster fire. Same thing for Sam Darnold in New York. People don't understand that when these guys go in as rookies, it's hard for them to adjust because they're understanding a new playbook. They're understanding the day-to-day, life of an NFL player. Their life essentially changed and it becomes an adulthood. And having that on having to put things on the field, we see Stroud do it. We've seen, other quarterbacks do it.
Justin Herbert.
We see other quarterbacks do it. But at the end of the day, the guys that really touch the top are the ones that can sit. Tom Brady sat, Mahomes sat, Lamar sat. Like you can go on and on about the QBs that sat, and then when they were thrown in there toward the tail end of the year, it really showed in their game. And I think he could really come in those last 2-3 weeks if you just held him out after he fully understands what the NFL is about and just tear it up and show you what Drake May can be about. Because like you said, the sky is the limit.
I really do agree with everything Keith said. I'm not gonna lie. Making a quarterback like this sit is honestly like the perfect thing to do. With Jaden Daniels, I think he's more ready day one to bring in with that superstar aspect now. And that's because his play is so dynamic that he can do more than one thing. But with Drake May, his ceiling is higher, like you said, Dietrich. Like the big prototypical build with a big arm, can make all the throws, sneaky athleticism, but he's young. He has certain things he needs to work on, like this little mechanic sitting in the pocket. He can make throws under pressure, but you put too much pressure on him, start to bend a little bit. You start to fold. Now, again, he didn't have as much help and wide receivers, but he's not getting any more help in the league, especially going 2-3 like Washington, Patriots. He's not going to be getting any favors or any help, but sitting down is the best help he can get right now. Sitting down, learning, even if it's from a vet, from QB coach, and even just making him want to play. Like sitting down, if he's seeing it every week and he's like, man, I can do that. Like I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do it. Just making him keep wanting to play, especially, as a Bears fan, watching what they did with Jordan Love, sitting 3 years, we forgot about Jordan Love. And he just came in and he damn near had a top 5 season, that year. So just making that quarterback want to play, making them eager to get in the game, I feel like that's the best thing to do it, especially like young quarterbacks with the Drake Mays and the JJ McCarthy's. They're not 24, they're not 23, and they're good, but they're not superstars. They're just kids. They expecting them to come in day one and lead a bad franchise to the promised land is irrational. Geeking for them to get some play in so we can see what they can do, so we can evaluate them is also irrational. You can evaluate him at practice. You can evaluate him during scrimmages and different things like that. So there's really no need for a Drake May to like jump in the game. I think if he sat for a year, he'll be, he could be a Justin Herbert. He can be the ceiling that we think he can be because he's gonna wait. He's gonna really learn the game before being thrown into game. I feel like learning the game before being thrown into game is the best thing for a prospect like this. Especially with the little things he need is the little things you could fix at practice. So it's really nothing crazy, and he's young. So that's just my thing with Drake, man. That's why he would be my third QB because he's a QB that could sit and learn.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the things both of y'all said, 100%. And I like the point that Mega emphasized with him taking his time for sure. I think, like you said, he's 20, 21. He has time to wait. So there's no point of rushing him out there into a bad situation where he's forced to play superhero ball instead of how to learn, develop, read defenses at XYZ. Just let him learn the emotions of an NFL game, the emotions of the NFL timing, the speed of the game. And then when he's ready or close to being ready, then you could put him out there and let him display how good he is as a quarterback. Um, like I said, I just don't think the difference between him and Caleb, of course, the talent is still higher, even though Drake isn't a lot far behind. But I think Caleb is probably more pro ready and more NFL ready and touched than how Drake is. Drake is more a raw prospect than Caleb is. He's still a great prospect, but he's just a little bit more of a raw prospect than how Caleb is. Now, on to my next quarterback of 4 and 5. My 4 was changed after I did my breakdowns. My 4, I had Michael Penix Jr. before I did my breakdowns and watched videos. But after watching and taking into consideration his injury history, I'm not going to say his age because, of course, him and Jaden is around the same age, but I have put JJ McCarthy into my 4 spot. I watched I watched a lot of ball of him. I like what I've seen, and Michael Penix injury history just it scares me a lot if I'm an NFL GM. But I still do think he is a great NFL quarterback. I'm not taking that away from him. I think he is definitely 100% ready to go in the league. It's just that injury history scares me. It's a huge red flag. And if I'm an NFL GM, I don't know if I can take that in the first round as I could take JJ McCarthy in the first round. But JJ McCarthy, everything isn't pretty with him either. He inconsistent on certain throws. He can overthrow it, he can underthrow it. You never really know whenever he let the ball out of his hand. Sometimes it could be a great throw or it could be an overthrow / underthrow. He cannot get the ball down the field with accurate ball placement consistently. He can get it down there sometimes, but if I'm betting on it, I don't know if it's going to be consistent every single time. He don't take opportunities to stretch the field out. That made me upset when I was watching a lot of his games. You have Roman Wilson and one of the fastest wide receivers in NCAA football, but he didn't take a lot of advantages. He did it sometimes, but it wasn't as many times as I would like for you to throw the ball down the field to Roman Wilson with as a wide receiver with top end speed down the field. He doesn't same thing. He just doesn't take high risk throws, high risk, high reward. Bet on your playmaker sometimes. Nothing jumps off the charts with him. He's not a great talent. Well, he's a great talent. Let me not call no college first round pick not a great talent. He's a great talent. It's just nothing jumps off the charts where it's like Jaden Daniels athleticism, Caleb Williams arm talent, Drake May arm talent. It's just nothing that jumps off the charts. And against blitzes, he gets a little spooked. But like Mecca said with the last quarterback, I think that just comes into development, reading the NFL game and letting it slow down for you. And I think for JJ McCarthy, just as well as any quarterback, I think he needs talent around him for his game to be maximized. He needs talent around him. But that's with any quarterback. I think he's a great quarterback for you to drop in, but he's not a quarterback to uplift his teammates and his talent and demand the best out of players and put him in the best positions as players. But I think he's a safe option. He's not great, but he's not bad. He's just a good quarterback for you to throw in there. If he has weapons around him, I think he can be a good quarterback. I think I like to use with him is he's real Brock Purdy ish. except he just not. I don't think he's going to pan out to be how Brock Purdy is. Brock Purdy, he's a good quarterback. He's a great quarterback. I'm not going to dive into Brock Purdy right now, but I also like to put JJ McCarthy into like a Kirk Cousins with legs. He won't necessarily lose you the game on a lot of plays, but he won't also make those plays for you to win the game that you should want out of a quarterback. He's just safe. But a couple of things that I do like that I've seen from him, he's a good improviser. He can extend a couple of plays if you need him to. Um, what you see is what you get. You don't have a lot of question marks. It's just if you could get him to be a lot more accurate, then he could be a better quarterback for you. He's great from short to intermediate range. I think he's pretty. I like those short to intermediate plays. He knows when to take chances and risk and when not to. If he doesn't like it, he won't throw it. 100%. I think that's what I've seen for sure. He has a great active feet inside the pocket, and he has a good deceptive eyes. Keeps his head moving, and keeping his head down the field and allowing to go through each and every almost progression that he has down the field. Like I said, he's a safe pick. He gets the ball out quick and gets it to his weapons quickly, but it's just not down the field. That's the only thing that I don't like. It's just not stretching the field. It's not down the field plays. It's just here, boom, ball out. So I think a lot of GMs might love that. Some GMs may not like that. It all depends who they think he should go to. But like I said, I think that's why I like him over Penix is because of the age and the injury history. I think the injury history is the biggest thing on why I would take him over Penix, but Penix is also another great prospect in my opinion. I just have JJ going first round in my opinion. He's probably like a top 50-ish prospect. I have him 15 to 45 range, but he could land anywhere between there. But he will probably go top 10 depending on the teams.
Yeah, I got JJ too, and I think the first three guys. I think you can pretty much put in that tier one, but I think tier two really is just him in itself. I think he's by himself in tier. I think I'd put Penix more closer to the back end kind of guys, respectfully. I think Penix, the injury history is not more so why I put him there. It's more so because and the injury history was more so when he was at Indiana. The last 2 years he played at UW, he played every game, so he's shown that he can play a full season of football. But with JJ, I think and for some coaches, GMs, he's a dream QB because he's always going to play in structure, play through the game plan. And, a lot of QBs in the league, like the Caleb's or the Drake, like they enjoy that out of structure play. But coaches spend all week game planning and setting things up so it falls the way they like. And I think JJ does a good job at maximizing that while also having that ability, if it hits the fan, to like you said, improvise a little bit. I think he does. He takes risks from time to time. I think there's one play that really comes to mind is the OSU touchdown he threw, and not this year's game, but last year, where he just corked that thing right through two people. And I think the thing with him is more so, especially with his arm, like you said, he can't really throw like the tier one guys and really throw it 50, 60 yards, but his ball, he really can. If it's a nice 30 to 40 yard range, I think his ball it won't die toward the end. It'll just be a good fast type ball. And I think the thing he struggles with is mixing velocities on his balls because not every pass needs to be a fastball. There's some balls that you got to lob, and there's some balls that you might need to make sure they get there, but not completely fully just airing it out as hard as you can. And I think that's something he struggles with mixing it up. But he's got active feet in the pocket, so that allows him to be that improvising kind of QB. And when he's rolling to his left, he looks pedestrian, very pedestrian. And that's something that once you arrive to the league, you can continue to work on. But I think his balls when he's going to the left, just when they get to the league, if they stay the same, that'll be a non-stop struggle for him. But he also those tight window throws, and as much as I'm knocking the hard throws that he can make, you look at guys like Stafford or other guys who really can put some air behind it. And those tight window throws can be the difference in those late games. Like I've seen Jordan Love make some tight window throws. Cam Newton was famous for it. And, those are
Justin
really,
Herbert.
huh?
Justin Herbert.
Those are really the ones that those are the film watchers, the ball knowers. Those are the ones that really make you go ooh, because if a DB even takes one false step, he can make you regret it. And I think that's a very big skill in itself. But he's got to work on really being able to drive that thing once he hits his back foot because his balls, when he's throwing outside the hashes, are very, very inconsistent. Like you can see it from this year or last year, any year you watch AJ, his balls when he's throwing outside the hashes, especially to his left, it really is very bad to watch. And he's got to work on that with his QB coach. And I think he can be comfortable, like you said. I think he's just an athletic Brock Purdy. I think he doesn't have as good of an anticipation throw as Brock does. But I think when it comes to extending plays in a similar fashion and getting balls where they need to and layering them on, outside, inside the hashes. I think they're very similar in that aspect. And I think, I mentioned it earlier about Caleb and not seeing it with Caleb, but the one thing that, and I know specifically coaches and GMs will love about him is that you've seen JJ battle adversity. He got to that college. He went to against TCU last year in the playoffs, lost that game. He looked fairly okay in that game. Came back this year and responded with a national championship. And it was one of my, I said this to you a lot, Dietrich. You can knock a guy who might not be the reason that they're there, but he's still a part of that, and you got to give him credit for that. They won that national championship, and that passing game might not have been the focal point, but at the end of the day, he in all the clutch throw metrics and all the high third down passing stats that you can find, he wipes all the other QBs. So it's like when he was asked to throw the ball, he did that. And that's pretty much all you really can ask of him is when I need you to step up to the plate, you do that. And if he lands at a team that only wants him to make certain throws throughout the game, I think Minnesota would be a perfect spot for him because he'd have Jefferson on the outside that he really could rely on. But I really don't see him as a guy who elevates an offense. I don't think, and I think that's really what separates him from the upper echelon, the first three guys. That I can see those guys as being the reason in an offense. I don't know if I can necessarily see him being the reason in an offense, and that's why I know his grade that I gave him was right in the middle. It was mid first grade, so I'd be comfortable taking him 15 and above, and or really 12 and above in the first. But top 10, I really don't know if I'd be able to gamble that or stomach that as a GM, especially if it doesn't pan out because there's top 10 worthy players, especially this year of all years, and missing on a QB like that can really set you back a few years. But if he lands in a good spot, like I'd argue he could be almost as much of a sit candidate as Drake May is. But yeah,
So y'all basically said everything for real. Basically, y'all really just broke down his weak points, strong points. My thing is, I think at this point of the draft with the quarterbacks, we're not getting any first round start, well, first day starting or any short talents. I think everything is a gamble from now. And with that being said, I feel as though that he's the best gamble out of all of the bunch. Out of Penix, Nix, I think he's the best gamble with the age. I think he's very coachable. I think he's seen a lot of success in college. And I feel like seeing success is also something mentally that also could take you into the league. You won a national championship. You led this offense for 3 years as a 3 year starter. You did the big things. You played the big games. You beat Ohio State twice. So you've done a lot of things. You've faced a lot of adversity. And you want to show that you're great. You did a lot. You just won a national championship, and you're barely a top three quarterback because they're saying this and that about you, and you're not. I mean, he's not ready yet, but the right player, you throw the right player on a certain team. It's always about the team and where he's going to go and what they're going to do with him and what they're going to invest into him. Is he just going to sit on the bench? Are they going to teach him on the bench? Are they going to actively try to learn him into the offense? He's not a day one starter. He's probably not a year two starter. He could start year three, like Jordan Love. I always use that example because I just keep seeing it work for the Packers. You have Aaron Rodgers sit for 3 years. You have Jordan Love sit for 3 years. Like, we literally forgot about this man, and he came and lightened stuff up. So I think he's the type of player that, we just need to forget about for a little bit. He just needs to get drafted to a system that's going to keep him in. You can't be drafted to a system that's going to be getting multiple offensive coordinator, multiple playbooks. Because why am I learning multiple playbooks on the bench? How is that really progressing me? Why are different people coming in teaching me different things year in, year out? And even by year three, is he even still going to be there if he's in a different offense? So I think finding a stable team with a stable offense that's not ready for him to start right now is the best thing for him. And, that's probably the hardest thing to find right now because, what team is in a stable offense that doesn't need a quarterback? What team is in a bad offense that's not going to get another OC that want another quarterback? So it really is hard for him for where he's going to go for him to truly be successful. I feel like every prospect could be successful, especially prospects like this first round prospect. They could all be successful. So him finding his way on where he could be successful at will probably be the hardest thing. But I know it's there for him for all the reasons I said, just finding that team that will invest into him, give him the years to sit, give him the years to learn. A team like Atlanta, they got Kirk Cousins. I don't know the new offensive coordinator or how their offense is about to work, but he can sit behind Kirk Cousins until his contract is out. He can come in with all those weapons that's already start studied. It'll be 5 to 6 years in, and he could just Bijan the play action, throw it up to Drake London. That could just work right then and there. So that's just what I think for me with McCarthy, JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all everybody points right now. I mean, we're pretty much on the same page. My last quarterback, I say he should have been four in my opinion. I ain't gonna take all day on him is Michael Penix. I love everything he could do as far as a quarterback. He could just flat out throw the picks and he could flat out throw the football. The thing that really hurts him the most, in my opinion, and I hate to see it, is the injury history. I feel like if his injury history wasn't that long of a track record, I feel like he could have been in that top three, four, a strong top three argument. Because when he's out there on the field, if you're watching Michael Penix play for the first time, if you would have watched that, I forgot what game I was watching, but if you would watch that, was it the first game in the college playoffs?
What, Texas?
Didn't he throw for like three something?
Oh yeah, he tore Texas up.
Yeah, like if you never watch if you never watch him play in your day of life and you watch that game right there, you will be like, oh nah, this is like, what I'm saying, top two, top three quarterback. Then you see his injury history. It hurts him a lot. Um, I'm not even gonna go like over a lot of his weaknesses in my opinion. I don't think he has a lot of weaknesses. It's just he's not a strong athlete like Jaden, like a Drake, like a JJ in my opinion. But he still can get a little movie. He could get out a little bit. He's just injury prone, but he could do everything you need him to do if he's healthy. Like you said, he was healthy a lot last season, so he was doing his thing. Um, I haven't really seen him throw a lot of throwing on a run outside of the pocket. He can do it. I just didn't see a lot of it. I know in the NFL you have to do it a lot more than college. But again, some people probably will put that system title on him because he had Rome, because he had, what was his name, Jalen Polk, I believe. Yeah, because he had Polk, and they had another wide receiver. I can't remember his name. Yeah. He had another. Yeah, there you go. Yep, they had that third wide receiver right there. So he had weapons around him. So some people are going to try to throw that system name on him. I don't think he's a system. I think he's a great quarterback. Does a lot of great things. Keep his feet active in the pocket. He's great in the pocket. He will slice you up all day in the pocket. He's really plug and play in the NFL, in my opinion. But it just, that injury history just hurts. It hurts so much. Yeah, very accurate and precise too. I'm not a big fan of left hand quarterbacks, but I like Michael Penix a lot. Like I said, I can sit here and talk all day about him, but I'm not gonna hold it up.
Yeah, the grade that I gave him, I had him more so toward the late first round. I think I'd be more so comfortable taking him around there or early second day two, because I think the minimal athleticism that he does have is an extreme red flag, especially with the injury history that he has. You can't be a guy who's going to sit in the pocket and you got 300-pound $1 million men who they put food on the table by coming to get you, and if you can't get away from them, then your time's up. And if he in college, especially if he wasn't forced to have to run, he wasn't doing it. And I think that led to him being a little bit panicky and erratic in the pocket. But he will, as much as, and this is a respect to him, he's a hell of a player for this. Not a lot of people can. It was something Eli was real good at. Eli was one of those pocket passing guys. He will sit in the pocket and hold that thing and wait, even if he's got a guy bearing down on him. That won't change anything. He's got that mental toughness. It screams off him. You can see this guy being a leader. Whenever he talks, like he leads men, and you can tell that all his teammates love playing with him. You can see, like, I think having Odunze, which is, a 6'3" big body guy, has really helped his red zone ball improve over his collegiate career. I think he's been able to understand how to get it up when the guy's, hitting his out or whatever. And I think he's very good at layering throws on each level. And it's really because of his lightning fast release. He can say go and get it out, and probably faster than anybody in this class. I think he definitely does have the fastest time in this class. I think he does a very good job at understanding DB leverage, and if the DB doesn't have his head turned around, he will make you pay for it, because he's going to get it there in a timely manner for it to be a perfect back shoulder ball for the receiver to adjust to. And I think he's really that point guard type quarterback that a lot of systems could have. If you have a good line that can give him, 3-4 seconds in the pocket, he can be really nice. Like, I think he's one of the more, for me personally, I think I'd call him the best, hottest, cold player in this class, because when he's fucking hot, you've seen it in the Texas game. He killed them. Like, every throw was perfect with anticipation. It was leading the receiver to get a good enough amount of yak. He played that. You want to watch Michael Penix highs? You watch that Texas game. And, a lot of people can say whatever about him, but that was his first college football playoff game, and that's how he stepped up to the plate. Everybody had Texas winning that game, and he stepped up to the plate and tore them apart. And then, he went against Michigan. He got slightly hurt in that game, but he fought through it. And I think the Michigan game was really where it was emphasized that if you can get to him, that's it. There's no extending the play. There's no, making him hold it. And then once you show that you can get to him, that's when he starts keeping it in the back of his head. Okay, now I got to get it out faster. Or he gets a little panicky and erratic. So if he's thrown off his game a little early, then he can become a very cold player, and that's when he has those bad games. But if he's hot and he's slicing, he can hit every throw on the field, 50 yards downfield, outside, inside, the whole nine.
I'm gonna make this one quick, but the thing with Michael Penix for me, he really just has like that dog in him. I really think like he can make all the plays, he can make all the throws. Like if he was 21 with minimum injury history, we'd be talking top 3. But unfortunately, he's not. So for me, the system he has to be in, it's not really a system. I think he can enter any system and play ball. But I just think you can't really ask him to be a franchise quarterback right now, unless he just comes to that next level and prove that he still do got that next level dog, like that top end dog, which you can take a gamble on it if you would like. The only reason I have JJ over him because he's younger and he can potentially learn more for his ceiling to be just as high or higher than Michael Penix. But I think Michael Penix he can potentially be a day one starter, but it's just who wants to take an older day one starter with a lot of injury history? That's a lot of risk to throw your franchise in. So I think a really good team, I really think he could just be like a generational backup, and that's no disrespect to him, because I really do think he could just be a starter. Like, he could be a starter, but I think his low is that he could be a generational backup, and his ceiling, he can be a franchise quarterback, because he really just had all the intangibles, but it's just how much can your body hold up, your body getting fucked up in college with all these college boys, but when Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, Montez Sweat coming to get you now, it's not going to be sweeter. It's only going to get harder. So I just want to see how much dog he really got, and if he really can make diamonds out of all of this.
Well, that's all we got for you guys today. I do want to give a special shout out to our 100 subscriber, Mr. Nash. Thank you guys for joining us today. This is the end of Not Ball Talk, and we're going to see you guys next time.
He passed me the ball. He never passed me the ball.